So with all that, I'd like to introduce to you our guest speaker for tonight, Brad Lantz, who is Who Am I?
And it works. Not sure you guys, I'm going to be pointing at this rather than this. So there's room over here if you guys want to come, but everybody shakes their head no. All right. I am Brad Lantz. I'm with MindSync, and basically it's that guy right back there that I met, Alan, as he's stuffing his face, that I met through you, I believe it was, Becky, that you said, oh, you ought to meet this guy with Eagle Group. And so I've been attending the Tuesday night meetings with Alan, and he and I have met together. And one of the things that really surprised me, I guess, was that in meeting vets or in listening to them Tuesday night, they would say that, well, I'm getting out of the service, but I really don't know what I want to do. I really am not sure the next direction and everything. And so Alan and I were talking about that, and he said, you ought to develop a talk about that. Thank you, Alan, for getting me roped in. But it occurred to me because I led groups of CEOs, about 130 different CEOs in peer groups, and they're there for the same reason. Now, these are CEOs, they have multi-million-dollar companies. And they, how do we advance that? See, nobody gave me a clicker.
I wouldn't have a clicker. I don't have a clicker. So.
There's not a clicker? Okay.
There might be, but
I'll come back here and click it. Okay. That's okay. I'll do it.
Okay.
And so basically what I found out in these peer groups that these CEOs really were at the peer groups to understand better how they could be better leaders, how they could be better at managing a company that they really were not prepared to manage. And so what I found is that we all have operated from who I was, which is your past. We all sometimes operate in the who I am, which is the present. And a lot of us would like to operate from who I want to become. By the end of tonight, what I want to have happen is that you can all say, this is who I am, so that whatever job that you have, whether you have a job that you love or not, that you're going to say, this is who I am, and be able to stand in that. It's that map. You are here now. 50 to 70% of who you are today came from your personality that was developed before age 7. 75% of your self-esteem. And you can read the rest of it here. And then we've run into traumas and major life incidents and setbacks in your life that pile on top of that. So if most of us were developed and still carry with us that personality of back when we were 7, how's that work? A little science lesson before we go on. You got your subconscious, you got your conscious mind. Basically, Your mind is not your brain. Your brain operates, it's like your operating system behind your mind. And so it's doing the ones and zeros, and I don't understand any part of that and everything. Your subconscious mind, what you're doing on a regular basis is 90% of your actions are coming from your subconscious mind. And in fact, neuroscience says higher than that. Only 5% or 10%, I gave it, is coming from your conscious mind. Your beliefs, your habits, your reactions, your values, intuition, and all the stages that you've gone through are coming from your subconscious mind. The problem is, at about age 7, you develop this critical factor barrier. So if I say to Becky, I love your pink outfit, Becky's mind bounces that off and does not accept it. She thinks I'm either colorblind, kidding, or stupid. And it might be all three, but she's bouncing it off. That's what we do to new concepts that are trying to come into our mind. And the only way to do it, to get into it, is in your conscious mind where you have choice, where it's your agency that's operating, where your critical thinking is happening, and you have responsibility and accountability in that. And neuroscience is basically saying that's 5% of your time. If you don't believe it, take your pen that you've got and change hands with it. Start writing. See how you enjoy that. Tonight, go home, brush your teeth with the opposite hand. See how you're enjoying that. Or eat your pizza even with it. Now, pizza is a little different. You can be I was a lefty when I was born. My dad would slap my hand every time. The same with you. So I became a righty. And so I don't know whether I'm in my left or right brain, but it's someplace in there, happens a lot. Everything from womb to tomb is in your subconscious. So everything that you've experienced that whole time is there. The question is, why can't you access it? And it really comes back to this right here, developed around age 7, that those are locked in because when you were younger, you were basically, your brain waves were operating at a slower pace. It's alpha or theta brainwave state. And in alpha and theta brainwave state, you can talk to your subconscious. At around age 7, all of you became kind of normal, where you're basically in the beta state right now for the most part. Those of you that are particularly anxious about me talking like this, you may be in the gamma state, and we have to calm you down a little bit. But basically, this is what we're all dealing with. And by the way, this is not a canned pitch, so if you have any questions or anything about it, please interrupt me at any time. The largest researcher of the workplace, Gallup, over 75,000 companies that have been studied, shows 18% on average engagement of the employee. And price bumps it up maybe at 2%. So they can give you greater money or more money, and it's going to increase your engagement a very little bit. What people are looking for is love in all the wrong places, unfortunately. So they say, do I feel that somebody cares? And do I do something daily that I love? 6 times what pay will increase if you have that in the workplace. So the question is, how do you get that? How do you stay with that? And unfortunately, companies are kind of working against us here. In companies, they're showing a lack of trust, a demise of teams, and a work emphasis is on conformity. What I look at with the veterans is a totally different person that should excel at trust and teams, because that's what the service was all about. The conformity, yeah, they kind of made you conform to it a little bit, but those that got really rewarded in the service also were the people who were not conformists on that. This is what the companies are doing. That's what it's causing a lack of engagement. So where do we go from there? We have to look at ourselves. Who are you? Who am I? Am I the lion? Am I the kitty? Define it by yourself. Define it by others. Define it by the workplace. Define it by your personal life. And then say, who do I want to become? Most people never enter that. We've got a couple of guys back here that teach that type of thing, which is exciting to me. I want to meet with them after this and everything. But it's, how do I become who I want to become when I don't even know what job I should be in? When I don't even know if I'm in a job, why am I not enjoying that job? And some of you may love your job, and that's fantastic. I know Alan does. I worked for years where I really enjoyed what I did in marketing and leadership development. Right now, I'm in a job that I love, and I guess I don't have a job. The military versus the corporate brand. What's your brand? Do you know what your brand is? Is it purpose over preference? I spent years in jobs that was my preference because I thought I was really this ad guy. Won all these awards, did all these other things in it, and yet really enjoyed it, but never loved it. Start with your why identity. Why am I doing this? And then how do I attach that to my identity? Can I attach whatever I'm doing, whether I may be digging ditches, how can I attach that to what my identity truly is? If you haven't defined your identity, you're probably not going to be able to. How do you fit? We talked the other night on all these different assessments. There's 100 of them out there, but the best one I found is emotional intelligence, emotional quotient, they call it, strength finders. There's all sorts of personality styles. Take those, find out who you are, who you want to become is what you're looking for in the future. And then how do you translate that? And if you're not selling trust and team in your interviews, I think you're making a huge mistake because they don't have it in companies. For the most part, I'm sure Cargill does. a little commercial. Networking, this has already been talked about. Project Got Your Back. If you're not in Project Got Your Back, you're missing out. They have some wonderful mentors. They've got just a wonderful program to go through. And then branding and differentiating yourself. None of us woke up to be mediocre. Use these assessment tools and eliminate money initially in what you're doing, and then bring it in later because you need to be paid. But find out who you are first. Who are your heroes? What are you passionate about? The four big assessments that being a leader of peer groups, everybody wanted to sell me assessments because they wanted all of these CEOs to use these assessments. Emotional intelligence has been stated as the number one to demonstrate the success of a leader. Strength finders, you normally get 5 of those. I'm assuming most are familiar with that. I've got a friend that if you want to meet, he does 10 of them because your top 5, basically, you can be outside of that 5 at any one point in time and go out of that. DISC is another one. I was a high I when I took the DISC several times, and then I started doing these peer groups and became, because of my audience who were dominant, people said, what is really running a peer group? And I said, it's someplace between training alpha dogs and herding cats. Because they all are alpha in their nature, and yet they chase shiny objects like a cat. Well, so it really was interesting. This is one of the best. The others will change. I thought I was pretty good on emotional intelligence until I took the test. So if you don't want to feel good about yourself, you might not want to take it. But it basically, I was in the 70s, and within 6 months of concerted effort on it, I was in the 90s on the thing. So the book will take you through that. The Colby is basically your batteries. So if you're wondering why you're doing some project and you're just exhausted at it and other things give you energy, it's because these act kind of like your batteries. This is Fact Finder, which is basically research oriented. This is Follow Through, which is basically you can put 5 despairing things together and make them work. And this is the Quick Start, which is these people have to have, they don't want the detail. And this is people that want to work with the hands, the implementer. And but it tells you how to present. You present from this way. It has to be pretty, and it has to be short, and you have to tell these people that you're going to provide them all the detail after the presentation. So it only changes in your lifetime 4%. There's all sorts of assessments that are out there that you can take from career. A couple more were brought up that I hadn't heard of the other night, Alan, that basically there's a lot of them that will translate who you are in the service versus who you are in your job. one of the things that I deal with is the emotional issues that people are, whether it's sleep or whether it's stress or pain or whatever. These are the three biggies. I've got clients that say they have all three of them. I'm not enough. And finish the sentence. Imposter syndrome falls in that, and you see that a lot with people saying, I can't do that, which is the last one also. Or I'm different or defective. Those are three of the things that if you are struggling with those, at the end will be my card, and you can basically call me and I'll give you some tips to deal with them. Leadership. If you're in leadership, here's the main characteristics that you're going to be dealing with. The number one in all of the studies is communications or lack of it. Loneliness is 61% of the people out there. That's the employees. Leaders are higher than that. Distractions. In our groups, we had all of the CEOs basically take the every 15 minutes and track it for 2 weeks. What we found is the lowest number on distractions was 18%. The highest was right at 50%. And this guy, all of them said, I'm busy. I'm so busy. I don't have time for all this stuff. I don't have time to keep my timesheet. That's at the low, 18% of the work that you're doing today would save you 65 days this year if you recaptured that in doing productive work. Working on the urgent versus the important, that is something that most CEOs are struggling with. They generally let the important go by until it becomes urgent, and then they start working on it. What's your perspective? How many here see an old woman? How many see a young woman? All right. And see both. Okay. This is very old. We've all seen it. I want to use an old one. I've got about 20 new ones, and I have to stare at them too long. So I chose not to use those. Our perspectives, as I said, when we're young, the authorities and our peers are creating our perspectives. When I was a cop in the service and went out to an incident and would interview 5 people that all witnessed the incident, how many different descriptions of that did I get? I'm giving you a little hint. Right? So it basically, it really goes back to what's already in our mind. Our beliefs are filtering every time what we're seeing. Okay. There. I created a little basics of leadership, AEIOU, that I've had a number of CEOs like using this to be able to say, are they really following through on this leadership thing? Anybody here ever experienced stress? Okay. Stress is merely expectations of your demands. So, what are your demands? If Alan has to finish a project before I can do mine and I'm stressed over it, I put the monkey on my back, and monkeys on your back do nasty things. So don't keep them there that terribly long and everything. So blame the blame the guy that isn't giving you control that you need. Certainty is risk. Connectedness, if you're not connected to people, like I said before, that really bring out the best in you, and then progress. When you're in stress, just merely saying, which of these, identifying which one of these are you struggling with right now, will lower your stress. Then the obvious, how many here exercise 5 times a week? Good, good group. Should expect that with vets. They're saying 150 to 180 minutes a week of aerobic and strength exercises is what you need. Nutrition, there are so many things that are killing us in nutrition and keeping us, keeping our mind not operating the way it should. That's one of the things that I have to teach almost immediately. Sleep is something that most people give you a quick tip on sleep. Before you go to bed, write out a list of what you're going to do tomorrow and read it. And then tell your subconscious, work on this overnight. It is amazing. Would you hire somebody that works for free all night long because they don't sleep, and yet we don't put it to work? Your mind is on guard duty. Your amygdala mind, fight flight mind, is on guard duty at all times. And when you wake up and you have thoughts or you have music in your head, I pull the Alexa brain in my head and just say, Brad, music off. And it works. And I go, I have no idea why that works, but hey, try it. I put meditation down here. How many here meditate? Very few. Look up on Google the advantages, the benefits of meditation. If the next meeting and I see you and you're saying you're not meditating, then it's on you. The biggest thing with meditation that people have to say is, Brad, my mind wanders. And all you have to do is have a little sheet of paper and write down what it wandered to. It's wandering for a reason. And then go back to meditating. I've done that as much as 10 times. So I've had stuff on my mind. I don't know. And it's amazing. You start doing that on a regular basis, the patterns that come out on what you write down. And once you find those patterns, you find out what you need to address internally. Tell it to stop. Meditation and the benefits, just please look it up. One of my favorite sayings is, watch your thoughts, for they become your words, your actions, your habits, your character, and your destiny. And Alan gave me the second one here. Basically, the 2 most powerful words in the English language is I am. Whatever follows that is your belief. So question your beliefs. I as identity. Can't as your beliefs and values. Do, capabilities, behavior. Is that here? Have we ever said it ourselves? Cleaning out the trash talk. And I had a good friend that is a performance coach, and he said, Brad, I can't live without trash talk. I've got to be able to do that. And I'm not talking about that trash talk. I'm talking about the trash talk to our minds. Your mind shuts down when you say, why do I always do that? When you say, I'm so exhausted. I can't believe I'm just the self-critic. Your mind, your subconscious does not hear contractions. So as a golfer, if you say, don't hit it in the water on the right, what's it hearing?
Hit the water.
Hit it, and it's saying, I can do that. I've done it many times, and it's amazing. I've got one guy I play with, and I'm saying, okay, it's 14th hole. You want to say, I hate this hole because I always hit it in the water and he does it, and he does it really well into the water. Your mind also does not understand, for the most part, future tense. So if you're saying, I hope, I wish, I would have, could have, I should have, you're shooting on yourself. You basically, if I say, I need to lose 30 pounds, my mind cannot get around that. If I say, I want to lose 2 pounds this week and tell it how, it's on that in a heartbeat. So what you're saying to yourself, with golfers, it's probably the one thing that is hurting them more than any other area. Motivation. Do we have motivation? We talk about identity. Energy. The first one's breathing here. How many know how to breathe? Okay. 90%, according to research, are using only 10% of their lung capacity. Think of that. Think of that the next time you have brain fog. Think of that the next time your feet are cold. Because you're using 10% of your lung capacity and not getting that oxygen down there. So I'm going to teach you how to breathe. Place your hand right below your solar plexus and in through your nose for 4 seconds. You should see your hand move in. Out through your mouth for 8 seconds. You should see your hand move out. I've got two clients that have gone, their doctors have taken them off of blood pressure medicine by breathing exercises. And there's probably 100 different breathing exercises that you can use. Yes, Becky?
Did you say breathe in for 4 and your hand goes out? Breathe out.
Breathe in for 4, your hand should go in. So we go, what you're doing is diaphragmatic or deep belly breathing. And that basically, when you are cut off on the road, and rather than gesturing, take 3 deep breaths and see how you feel after 3 of those deep breaths. And it's amazing how quickly it can go away. Those who aren't sleeping, who wake up at night at 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom or whatever, it's basically breathing will get you back. And the reason is the largest nerve in your nervous system is the vagus nerve. Starts from your brain stem, runs down, and attaches to all of your organs. You are calming your vagus nerve. So very quickly, you can do that. Giving you 2 sleeping tips. Nobody will come to me anymore. Okay, I want you all stand up. And I want you to turn to the person, in your case, you got to turn around. Turn to a person next to you and give them a high five and laugh out loud. Can you feel the difference? Right off the bat. And by the way, it lasts for 2 hours. And by the way, it works for yourself. So it's if you're working next to somebody, you might ask them if you can high five them. The problem, you can sit down now. The problem is we don't celebrate ourselves. The dopamine kick on what you just did lifts everybody's system. How many of you take cold showers every morning? We got 1, 2, 3, okay, 4, okay, 5. Look up the benefits. That's all I'll say. Look up Wim Hof. You think crazy man, but he, Iceman, is very healthy. Gratefulness. Doing that when you're waking up, that first half hour, when you're in that state of mind that is the alpha state of mind, and just telling your subconscious how grateful you are for certain things is amazing what it'll do. Zoff or flow or in the zone. Zoff is the zone of function. Has anybody heard of in the zone? Or, I mean, most of us have, or it is the highest level of productivity. And yet, while most of us know it, we don't go discover what am I doing in that highest level of productivity, and how can I recreate that in areas where I'm not as productive. There are ways of changing and reframing what you do to pick that up. Celebrating the journey. If you're celebrating just on the destination, you are missing out. Productivity will increase. Dopamine, which is a cool thing that's released also, is also released if you're celebrating in the journey. Most of us have heard of mindset. Carol Dweck wrote her book in 2006 on fixed or growth mindset. An example: avoids challenges, a growth mindset, views challenges as opportunities. Most of us have fixed mindset about some things. It's getting out of that to a growth mindset, because we have triggers, challenges, setbacks, difficult situations, criticism, and even success. Oh, I can never accomplish that again. My 5 R's are the way to change it. And I write about these all the time. Those of you that want to subscribe to my newsletter, I would appreciate it. It comes out weekly. It's only on this mind stuff. So basically, most of us are reacting rather than responding to something. So you recognize that this is a challenge. You reflect on it, and by the way, recognizing is the first area of mindfulness. You are becoming aware of something. We all need to become acutely aware of more things around us. Reflecting on it is really meditation. Meditation comes from the Latin to ponder. So it is reflecting on it, then reframing those challenges into the opportunities, and then refocusing on the opportunities on whatever job you're doing. And then referencing refers to how far you've come, how much you've celebrated during all this time. This is an exercise I give all of my clients, the acronym TIME. In that first half hour where your brain wave is in the alpha state, to basically give thankfulness for what you have. And we all have many blessings. To look at something that truly inspires you, to meditate on that. And then exercise, you can do that outside of the half hour, but exercise is really amazing, the benefits, what it does for you. But you need the strength exercise, not just aerobic exercise. And digital, there are 4 Ds on digital, but I won't go into them. But it basically, if you're watching news first thing in the morning, 6 hours later, if you're asked how your day's going, you'll say, at best. Oh, it's okay. That's what news is doing for you. So rewire right now, tonight, there's a lot of rewiring. Neural pathways are starting, but many of us here have neural ruts. It's like the old wagon wheels that are running down that same rut after rut. So I like ikigai, I guess is how it's said. Defining what we're good at, defining what we love, and defining what the world needs and will pay for. Keep that little chart by you and say, am I doing that on a regular basis? Because that's going to help you define who you are. So stay in the present. That's the conscious mind. That's where you have agency. That's where you can make choices. Build on your future. Assess yourself. Practice the 5 R's. Examine your perspectives. As old as that picture was, some people could not see one or the other. Either the young woman, and they're both there. And that's the case in everything we're viewing because of how our mind is basically translating it. Stop the trash talk, breathe, then rewire and love what you do. Open it up for questions. Here's some of the things that I do other than what I talked about here tonight. You can see how to reach me. Sign up for the newsletter. There's also a free ebook